and that's great. Greater, greater, may my love be greater, 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 may my love be greater, may my love be greater than my fear. May my love be greater than my fear. May my love be greater than my fear. And may I know I am welcome here.
It's great to start the morning with some good breathing and singing, don't you think? Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. My name is Jack Doggett, and it's my pleasure to serve as worship leader today. One of the things I love about this congregation is our openness, most recently expressed by invitation to Intern Minister Michael DeSantis to share his ministry with us for the summer. Their ministry with us for the summer. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It has been such a pleasure, so insightful, and I feel so buoyed about their future as a minister in the UUA. So it's a privilege to share this time. I want to extend a very warm welcome to everyone who's visiting us for the first time. We are an intentional community gathered around our shared promise to support each other's individual spiritual journeys. We don't all believe the same things in exactly the same way, but we do share the same values and the same commitment to our spiritual growth. We share the faith that our beliefs become real when we act on them to make the world a better place. And we share the commitment to live a life grounded in community. If you're joining us online, please fill out a visitor form in the link description. We would love to connect with you. Each week, we light our chalice just as 1,000 other congregations do around the country. It is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist past, present, and future. It's a visible reminder of our interconnection. As we light our chalice here at UUCB, we also say our congregation's mission to remind us of the way we have agreed to be and work together as a community. But as we enter this time and enter this space, I invite us to accept ourselves just as we are in this moment. Can we take a breath? And another. So now, can we all rise in body and spirit and join hands to the person next to you, or simply place your hands over your heart as we say our mission together?
Gather in fellowship to connect greatly, deeply and spiritually, embody justice, and always love.
This thing got kicked. Yeah. Could I invite a young person, Forrest? Would you come up and help light the chalice this morning? No, not today. A young person or a young at heart person? Great, please come forward. Please come on down. Yes. We have two, yes, more the better. Come on up.
Right, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael DeSantis. I use they, them pronouns. I am your summer minister in residence, and today I will be leading our wisdom story with Dr. Emily.
I lost my order of service. I don't know what's happening.
Well, Dr. Emily, today's a special day, right? So you want to maybe tell us a little bit about that?
That is correct. Thank you. That was an excellent lead-in. Pastoral care, friends. Today we are celebrating UUCB's birthday. Yay! There are several things we are doing to celebrate, but one of the things we're doing right now is Michael and I are going to tell you a little story prepared by Rachel, who loves us so much that she did all the work for us before she left. So once upon a time in the 1960s, raise your hand if you were alive during the 1960s. Yay! This was when the Beatles' music was the Pink Pony Club of the day. It was not oldies music then, right? A church was established. It was called the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. UUCB, as we now call ourselves, was a small group of people mostly associated with CU, but they were mighty, and they grew for a long time. Then one day, unfortunately, there was a minister who caused a big fight among the members. And that big fight led to a rupture in the community. And a rupture means something breaks apart in a really big way. Because of that rupture, some of the members of the congregation decided to leave in 1977 and form their own group, the Boulder Valley UU Fellowship.
Sometimes that happens in our relationships. We have a big fight, and then we need to take a lot of space.
Raise your hand if you've ever had a big fight and needed to take a lot of space from somebody, right? It happens, right? For many years, UUCB and the Boulder Valley Fellowship didn't want to have anything to do with one another. Also during that time, UUCB had some conflicts with the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, which is the big group that oversees all the UU churches in the whole entire world. And it was at that point in 1992 that Stan Stefancic, Fred help me. I was right, Stefancic, of beloved memory, came to be the minister here, and Stan was wonderful and helped guide UUCB back toward being in a good relationship with the UUA. And UUCB and the Boulder Valley Fellowship even considered coming back together, since they had a building and we had a minister. So like the math was good. But it was decided that having two groups still felt like the right thing to do because people weren't quite ready to come back together.
Sometimes that happens in our relationships too. We try to see if we can come back together and be friends, but there's still so much hurt. It feels extra hard to do. So we take a little more time to heal, to be on our own, to calm down, and to feel better.
Then, in 1994, the fellowship bought a building, while Kurt Kerwall was the minister here at UUCB. Kurt decided to organize a picnic at Eben G. Fine Park. And if you've been paying a lot of attention in some of our services here, we've had a lot of good stories about cool things happening at Eben G. Fine Park. So unlike a couple of years ago at our flower communion service, the picnic did not have a prairie dog or a mountain lion or a vegetarian wolf. But it may have had a flicker. That was me, if you remember. But most importantly, it did start to bring the communities back together and repair the relationships between the two groups.
Sometimes repairing a relationship, it starts with something as simple as inviting someone to spend some time with you at a beautiful park, enjoying a meal together, and having a conversation about something that is just really easy to talk about.
Eventually, UUCB and the Boulder Valley Fellowship started sharing larger events like the Thanksgiving and Christmas potlucks. So raise your hand if you've ever been to one of those potlucks on Thanksgiving or Christmas. Yeah, that's great. They started to coordinate doing religious education events together, like youth group and Our Whole Lives training. And eventually they had annual events like Music Sunday, thanks to the incredible collaboration skill. Now, Rachel wrote this, and I have to asterisk, thanks to the incredible collaboration skills of our and their music directors. And I have to say, no, wait. This predates me. This goes back to Deborah and Tad started doing those collaborations together long before I even knew Tad. So that is history that comes before me. I'm telling you the truth.
Rupture, when a relationship has a big hurt, and repair, when a relationship comes back together, is actually a process that can make relationships stronger if we let it. But sometimes it takes a long time and some space before we can repair a relationship and come back together in a real way. A huge part of UUCB's history is the way that it has navigated this process of repair with skill and grace and compassion, and as a result, continues to find ways to be real together. And now, speaking of some of our folks who might have been around when some of this was happening, we have a special celebration today. So I'm going to invite up Scott to lead us in that.
Good morning. Before kids leave for class, I'm going to need your help in this next part of the service. So if any of you would like to come forward and sit in these front rows, you can help Irene hand out some of these beautiful roses and notes. So this weekend is the 77th birthday of the UU Church of Boulder. It's a time to look back in order to make our way into the future. We deeply appreciate the way our long-haul members have blessed this community and passed it forwards across decades. And so we want to take a moment now to recognize them. If you have been a part of this community for 50 years or more, please stand and remain standing or raise a hand. If you have been part of this community for 40 years or more, would you please rise? And if you have been part of this community for 25 years or more, please rise. So please remain standing for just a moment, or if you need to sit down, raise a hand, because as a token of our gratitude, we have flowers and cards for the folks who have been a part of this community for 25 years or more. Kids, will you make sure that everyone standing or with a hand up has a rose and a note card? And while we're delivering those, I want to read a poem written by the UU minister, Rudy Nemser. You find them in churches when you're lucky. other places too, though I mostly know only the ecclesiastical varieties. Long-haul people upon whose shoulders and pocketbooks and casseroles and daylight nighttime hours a church is built and maintained after the brass is tarnished and cushions need restitching. They pay their pledges full and on time, even when the music's modern. Support each canvas, though the sermons aren't always short. Mow lawns and come to suppers. Teach Sunday school when there's no one else and they'll miss the service. Asked what they think of the minister or plans for the kitchen, renovation, or the choral anthem, or a Christmas pageant, or color of the bathroom paint, they'll reply. Individuals and fashions arrive and pass. The church, their church, will be here, steady and hale, for a long, long time. For long-haul people, bless a church with a very special blessing. You may be seated. You long-haul people have given this community a very special blessing and helped it to be a strong and vibrant place. In turn, you've helped this church bless the world. We wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't be without you. Thank you.
Have you done it? Just watching the little people flurry. Have you done it? Are you all right? All right. All right, I've got another Liam Morris for you today, so I'll teach it to you in chunks. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. You try that. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. And then we take that up a little bit. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I guess you got that part. My heart is wide open. My eyes are wide open to see what I will be. Try that with my hands. My hands are wide open. My eyes are wide open to see what I may be. Yeah, and then we go back to I'm listening. I'm listening. This one goes up. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. Should we try the whole thing from the beginning? I'm listening. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. And we do that again. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open. My hands are wide open. My eyes are wide open to see what I may be. So I'm listening. This one goes up. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. One more time so the kids can go to class. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. Same thing, just a little bit higher. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open. My hands are wide open. My eyes are wide open to see what I may be. So I'm listening. So I'm listening. This one goes up. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me.
For today's spiritual practice, I want to invite us to just stop and to share together a sacred pause, a few minutes of silence. And as we enter into this time, I invite you to do what you need to do for you and your body to feel safe and comfortable. We know that all of us are different, and different things help each of us to feel safe. For some of us, that might be closing our eyes. And for some of us, that'll be keeping them open. We know, too, that all of our bodies are different, that they all have different needs and different things that make us feel comfortable. So do what you need to do, what your body needs, to feel as present and grounded as you can in this moment. If it helps, you can breathe gently in and out. You don't need to force anything. This time is for you, your mind, your body, your heart, your soul. As we sink into this shared silence, may it bring each of you what you need, whether that's meditation or prayer or simply just a short little break. As our time of gentle silence continues, I invite you to bring to mind those things for which you are grateful or joyful. As a community today, that means all of our long haul members and all of our members, past and present, who have made this place and made it what it is today, who continue to make it and co-create it together with love, with care for one another and the world. We celebrate you. Thank you. I invite you now to bring to mind those things for which you grieve or worry, those things that might be weighing heavy on your heart. Today I want to name the grief that many of us feel around the passing of Andrea Gibson, the Boulder-based poet, Colorado Poet Laureate, activist. Their meditations on queer life and love and on living in the face of sickness, on making not just peace with, but friends with death, have inspired many of us. And we grieve their memory. We grieve their life, but we hold their memory close. Now is the time in our service when we hold all of the joys and sorrows of our hearts, when we hold compassionate space for one another. So when you're ready, I invite you to gently come back to this space, opening your eyes, wiggling your fingers or toes. If you're meeting here in person, we invite you to come forward as you feel moved, as you feel ready, starting with the back half of our room, and then moving to the sides by the windows, and then finally to the front half. Our invitation is for you to take one of our stones, or a couple of the stones, to hold them, to think about the joys and sorrows that you're carrying, and then to put them in our container of earth, sacred earth, as we hold one another in this community of love. will say, since I think this is the last time I'm up here, that it has been so wonderful to be with you all this month. And I will genuinely miss you all. And I have also been talking to Reverend David about coming back at some point over the next church year. So, well, I do think good goodbyes are important. This is maybe more of a see you later. So at least that's my hope. And it has just been a real blessing to be your summer minister this month. So in my ministry formation, I have had many mentors from across the country, and one of them, he tells the story of a mentor of his, a mentor who was called as a new minister to a UU congregation, one that had a distinctly humanist flavor. Now, after this minister was called to this church, but before she had officially started her ministry, this congregation of hers, this new congregation that she was about to start serving, they handed her, their new minister, a list of readings not to use, words not to say, and hymns not to sing. Thank you all for not doing that a couple weeks ago. So what did this minister do? Well, on her first day preaching in that pulpit, as that congregation's new senior minister, she pulled out a huge scroll, one that I think was probably a little bigger than this one I've got. She dramatically unfurled it, and then she proceeded to read aloud every prohibited word. You can probably imagine what some of them were in a UU church: God and faith and the Bible and Jesus and spirit and church and amen and so on. She then recited a line from every prohibited song. I don't think Leah Morris had written that one we just sang about listening to the Spirit and Spirit speak to me, but I suspect it would have been on the list if she had. This minister, she then recited one of those prohibited banned readings in full, and then when she had finished her recitation, she put the scroll away, and she said to her new congregation, "Now that we have that out of the way, let us try and do something real together. Let us try and do something real together." Now, those of you who are new to Unitarian Universalism and are visiting us for the first time, perhaps, and also welcome, but you might be thinking to yourselves, hold on a minute, I thought this was a church. Why in God's name would any of those words or songs or readings have been banned? Well, this religion of ours, Unitarian Universalism, it has a somewhat complicated relationship with being just that, a religion. As those of you who've been around a little longer no doubt know. Indeed, I suspect that some of us here might still have a hard time hearing our faith referred to as a faith, and that some of us might still cringe when we say that we go to church on Sunday. Now, there are, of course, many good reasons for this, many good reasons why we feel that twinge inside when we hear about capital R religion. For many of us, Unitarian Universalism is where we turned when we left more conservative faiths. Our local UU congregation is where many of us, myself included, where we turned after we had decided to leave the faiths of our upbringing, often faiths which had inflicted on us no small amount of pain and even trauma for who we were, for who we loved, for which doctrines we doubted, and for what causes we supported as just. And even if we ourselves, if we haven't been directly hurt by religious institutions, we are all keenly aware of just how widespread that hurt is, especially here in the United States, where a frightening brand of Christian nationalism is on the rise and likes to claim that it is the true Christianity and the one true religion. So many of us, we understandably, we want to distance ourselves from all of that. When we tell people that we go to a church, or in my case, that we work at a church, we quickly add something to the effect of, but not that kind of church. For all of these reasons, it makes total sense to me why so many of us to decide to reject the traditions of our upbringings and so much of the language that we associate with them. While we might want to hand that new minister a scroll or a list with everything that they can't say that reminds us of our past pain. Now, at the same time, there are some problems when we unleash this kind of very public and very hostile reactivity towards everything that expresses overtly spiritual or quote-unquote religious themes. For starters, it doesn't give our siblings from other faiths enough credit. It does not give other people of faith enough credit. And this point is really personal for me. You see, my grandparents were devout Catholics who also marched in almost every single social justice movement of the 60s and 70s and in the decades that followed. My partner, Pearl, as you've heard, is a queer, non-binary minister information in the United Church of Christ. And the story is similar for almost all of the mentors who shaped me into the person and the minister who I am today. My internship supervisor in seminary was a lesbian Lutheran pastor married to another lesbian Lutheran pastor. My preaching professor was a Black Baptist preacher and activist who was married to another Black Baptist preacher, activist, and scholar. And almost all of the people who taught me how to do spiritual care were rabbis. Breaking from our pattern of the three, none of them were married to other rabbis. And while we are on the subject of rabbis, I was once arrested just about a year and a half ago for participating in a protest that called for an end to the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza with not one rabbi, not two rabbis, but three rabbis. And I share this story knowing just how fraught feelings are around the situation in Israel and Palestine, especially here in Boulder, especially here following the horrific attack on marchers calling for the release of Israelis still held hostage by Hamas, marchers who were all members of Boulder's Jewish community. But I share this story also because those rabbis who were arrested with me, they knew perhaps more acutely than anyone that two things can be true at the same time. That anti-Semitism is a very real threat to Jewish people, including those rabbis and the congregations they serve, and also that a large percentage of American Jews, perhaps as many as a third to one-half, depending on your source and its biases, a large percentage of American Jews oppose how the Israeli government is handling its siege on Gaza. A siege that has killed anywhere from 60,000 to 100,000 people, again, depending on your source and its biases. These stats about the American Jewish community and the existence of rabbis like those ones I was arrested with, they remind us that the Jewish community is not a monolith, just as no other faith community is a monolith, including all of the faith communities to which those people who I listed earlier belong. And all of those people, all of those examples I gave from my seminary and my life, they're just a few examples from my young life, just from one person. They're just a few examples, but I think, or at least I hope, that they remind us that the religious landscape of America and the people of faith who populate it, they are so much more complex than we often give them credit for. They're certainly more complex than we portray them when we make comically broad characterizations and say things like, everything having to do with church and God and religion are symbols of abuse and tools of oppression. Religion and spirituality and faith in something greater than ourselves, they are all powerful, so very powerful. They can absolutely be very real tools for limiting life and controlling others, but they can also be powerful tools for bringing people together, for giving life, for bringing people together to do life-giving actions, and powerful tools for our collective and our individual liberation. Of these concepts, perhaps none of them are more powerful or controversial in our UU circles than that of God, and to a lesser degree, some of the other names that we give God: Spirit of life, the divine, great mystery, and so on. And look, I get it. I have heard that you are less reactive to God language, and that has been my experience. But for many of us, when we were raised in traditions with narrow understandings of God, understandings that all too often reflect the worst in us as humans, for many of us, I imagine that for many of us who were raised with that idea of a God who looked like the most powerful members of the society, a God for me who didn't share my gender and who seemed in many ways vindictive and even cruel, I suspect that we rejected that God. I know I rejected that God. I rejected that vindictive God, and I spent all of my teenage years and most of my early 20s as a very loud teenage atheist. A very loud atheist who was not at all shy about belittling the religious people around me, mostly my Catholic classmates, for their beliefs. But over time, folks, I began to learn two things. First, that vindictive God, or rather that way of thinking about God, it is far from the only way of thinking about God. And second, and more painfully to me, what I began to learn over time is that my loud put-downs of the religious people in my life, my loud put-downs of their beliefs, they only got in the way of real connection and real relationships, which could have led us towards real and deep and mutual understanding. My loud put-downs, they only kept me from listening to others when they talked about their more life-giving understandings of the divine. Their understandings of the divine as, for example, the mysterious source of all things, or a moral force, one that calls on us to make its love real in the world, or as a caring companion, one who they believed had accompanied them through all of their struggles without necessarily having the power to intervene or to make everything right. My loud put-downs of God and organized religion and other people's beliefs, they only got in the way of me being able to listen to and to learn from others about what we might have in common, including the ways that many of the religious people in my life had felt let down by their own traditions or hurt by those narrow definitions of God, just as I had been. My loud put-downs, they only got in the way of us doing something real together, like productive partnerships or projects about the things that we both believed in and wanted to make real in this world. And here's the thing. Just like every other religious communities, we as UUs, we are also not a monolith. We are a religious community which intentionally brings together people with many different beliefs about whether there is some kind of divinity and what the nature of that divinity might be. And my worry based on all too many stories that I have heard and witnessed from all too many people, my worry is that sometimes, some of us, we lead too much with our own woundedness, like I did when I was a younger adult. We lead from that woundedness and our own painful experiences with God and with faith, and we end up making snide comments about things like Christianity and the Bible and, yes, God. And when we do that, whether we realize it or not, we are enforcing a type of dogmatic atheism in our congregations, one that has led many members who are more spiritually inclined or who do believe in some kind of divinity to hide that from us. And sometimes when we make those kind of comments, we even make our beloveds in our congregations and our interfaith partners feel excluded and less than, and like they might not have a home here where they can be welcome. Now, I want to be clear. My point here is not My point here, my call to action is not that everyone needs to believe in some kind of God or divinity. That is not the point of our pluralistic faith. And I'm certainly not asking any of you who've had painful experiences with religion to hide that fact or your very real pain. Nor am I asking us to be silent in the face of harm or abuse or oppression that is justified and cloaked in religious rhetoric. What I am inviting you to do, what I am inviting all of us to do, is to simply be more honest and self-aware about that fact, about our painful experiences, to be more honest about our feelings that we still carry. Let me flesh that out a little bit. You see, in any moment when our own spiritual wounds come up, we can say things like, why would anyone believe in God? Or the Bible is just nonsense. Or we could hand the minister the list of the words we don't want to hear. Or we can say something like this. You know, I went to Catholic school for 22 years, or 17 years, or however many it was that I went to. It was a lot. I went to Catholic school for many years, and as a queer person, I really struggle with religious institutions. Or we could say, you know, I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian faith, and that was so painful for me. And now I struggle with God language and anyone who uses the Bible as a source of their faith. That first set of responses, the snarky ones, the broad generalizations, every single one of them is a conversation stopper. They are conversation stoppers that also obscure or avoid the real problem at hand. But that second response, those second set of responses, they open up the potential for dialogue. They open up the potential for mutual exchange, for us to have an avenue towards understanding one another. To be sure, that second response is absolutely more vulnerable. It requires us to be real about things that have caused us pain, and it requires us to refrain from soothing that pain, but belittling those who have caused us harm or who remind us of those who cause us harm. And it opens us up. It opens us up to differing perspectives, ones that might actually change how we think, and that's really scary. But if we want to do something real, if we want to do something real together, and this faith of ours, which aspires to create spaces where true spiritual pluralism can flourish, that second set of responses, it feels like the only real option to me. It's the only real option for healing, both personal and communal, the only real option for living into our values and a shared destiny that includes every single one of us and every single one of our spiritualities. And if we can lean more into that response over time, if we can take down the barriers that we put up, if we can join our hearts together and be real with one another about our most painful and most profound spiritual experiences, if we can open ourselves wholeheartedly to one another and to all that we do here, from singing and dancing and making art and placing stones in earth each Sunday and protesting injustices together and with our siblings from other faith traditions, if we can do all of that, we might find more and more that there is an energy that moves among us and through us. An energy, a spirit that is very real. A very real energy that has sustained generations of people before us and which has also called forth generations of justice seekers and people of compassion and goodwill to join together and to act. A very real energy which I suspect will continue to impel people across time and space towards the beloved community. And whether you choose to call that energy community, or spirit, or God, or neurophysiological responses to external stimuli, or something else entirely, that energy is something real that we can only channel, something real that we can only answer and live into, at least in its fullest form, together. And so, folks, now that we have that out of the way, let us try. Let us try and do something real together. May this be so. May this be so. Amen.
You'll know when it's your turn. Will your heart and soul say yes? Will your spirit still say yes? There is more that love requires of thee. Will your heart and soul say yes? Now will your heart and soul say yes? Will your spirit still say yes? There is more that love requires of thee. Will your heart and soul say yes? So just say yes. 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 This is your last chance to sing it. Sing it out. Yes. 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 There is more that love requires of thee. There is more that love requires of thee. So let your heart and soul say yes.
During these summer months, our weekly offering supports the work of our own UUCB community. As a financially independent congregation, everything we do is made possible by the ways that members and friends contribute their time, their talents, and their treasure. In a very real way, we co-create this congregation and empower it to become all that it can be. In that spirit, I invite you to give as generously as you are able. For those online or in the room, you can use a QR code that you find in the link or on the screen, or you can make a donation as ushers pass the baskets. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder community. I just love your jazz. Our closing words is a poem that was suggested by our beloved, soon to be gone, Michael DeSantis, by Mary Oliver, you all know. It's titled Mysteries. Yes. Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or from the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. And let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. So we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. mysteries. I have 3 invitations to offer. One is in honor of the UUCB 77th birthday. There's cake and celebration in the Sky Room. Also, after the service, Michael, as their parting gift to us, will lead a workshop on the centering prayer. You know which room that's going to be in? Right here. Hey, where else would you pray? And next week, after the service, there'll be a jam session and sing-along with UUCB musicians leading a jam for all. Bring an instrument or come sing or just tap a foot. And so we rise in body or spirit as we close in song.
Before we sing, can we just have one more, don't clap yet, one more loving, generous round of applause for Michael for sharing their beautiful ministry with us this summer. And like they said, hopefully this is not goodbye. Hopefully it's see you soon. All right. And if you remember, this is a great callback because I think it was just last week that they shared these words of Reverend Rebecca Parker with us, which were set by one of my mentors, Elizabeth Norton, in this beautiful song that we already know and love so well. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. Do it again. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. Go in peace, everybody. Enjoy your cake.